In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.
Welcome, Washington Commanders fans, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. I'm Amit. That is KDot. You probably know why we're laughing. We, after 2 years, have officially been named the Commanders. And as Dan Snyder put it, the not best kept secret in Washington, DC. I actually give him points for that, KDot. It wasn't so bad with the not best kept secret because it was not kept well at all.
So lame dad jokes gets him some brownie points with you.
At this point, given my opinion of him being like here, yeah, sure, off camera, here.
All right.
Here.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the team name real quick. Then we're going to get into the team Crest. Jason Wright is now on my shit list. And then we're going to talk about the Roundtable that took place with some new allegations, this time directly implicating Dan Snyder and directly about him. So why don't we begin with the team name? Worst kept secret in DC, the Washington Commanders. People thought maybe it was a misdirection because you saw the piece of paper on Jason Wright's chair and it wasn't blurred out. Then you see the helicopters and it says Commanders, at the stadium. And surely this must be a redirection. They spent 2 years doing this whole thing. And the name Commanders, surely that can't be it. But KDot, rest assured, on the Today Show, when they're like, Doug, do you want to do it? Just leans over and goes, we're the Commanders. And that was it. And all of a sudden, we're the Commanders. One of the most awkward things I've ever seen in my life. KDot, what are your thoughts on the name? What are your thoughts on the presentation, the build up, all of it? Go.
All right. So much to say. Let me start off by saying that there's no secret. Here, I've been treating the Commanders were the name for the last 2 months, right? Everybody's kind of had it. And I'm fine with the name. I'm perfectly okay with the name. I even go as far as to say I kind of like the name. The same way that everybody was bitching and moaning when Washington football team was the placeholder. And now we're all standing around here saying, man, I guess we're kind of used to Washington football team. It's the same way you're going to be with the Commanders.
Exactly.
It's change. It's going to be weird for a little bit until you get used to it. Whatever. All these people bitching about that. Come on. What I find hilarious, though, is the want and desire of Washington football team or Commander fans to always try to give the organization the benefit of the doubt that they are smarter than we know that they are, right? So like seeing everybody on Twitter the entire time when NBC4 and CBS and ABC have helicopters flying over FedEx. Oh man, this is all just a big ruse. Like this is what they said they were going to misdirect this, and this is what they're doing. They're doing all of that. Like, come on, guys. Have you watched this organization?
I know.
Come on, like really? Like we think that they had some giant scheme of like really compared to, hey, we fucked it up. We forgot to blur something on the window. like, is this what we're really doing? We really think that? Come on, people.
Were you even there when Joe Theismann on CBS Radio straight up said the name 2 days early? He just
I think people are gonna get used to the fact that we're the Commander. Hold on, did Joe just? Yes,
he did.
None of these people are as smart as you think they are. Like
no.
that's the thing, is that they're constantly doing things where you can see that they're bungling it to the point where, like, you know how you sit at home sometimes and you're like, man, I know I'm not a football coach, but I feel like I could call that play better than that guy did. I think Washington football team fans can honestly say there's a lot of things in that organization we might be able to do better than the people that are in charge of doing it. And I don't know if that's it starts at the top with Dan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows that. We're gonna get more into Dan as time goes on in this pod.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's Jason Wright. It's like, hey, dude, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, right? I want to say that, like, you're the dude that I can root for, like, young black man, hell of a resume, given a golden opportunity. We want to see the changes for the franchise. And then you can say that we listened to the fan base when it came to the name. And it's like, did you? Then it's going to be, hey, I saw the quote a couple days ago that fans last year had the best experience at FedEx Field than they have had
in years.
What the fuck? Like, there's just what are you saying? Like, there's this, as much as we try to give these guys benefit of the doubt, and I think Washington fans go at length to try to do so, to give these guys the benefit of the doubt, time and time again, all they do is disappoint us in some way. I think the name itself, whatever, it was always going to be a backlash, right? There's still people that want the Redskins to still be the name. Yeah. Even though, if I'm really looking at it, if you're calling a spade, Redskins is a stupid fucking name. Like, it's just the fact that it's been around so long and you're just used to it.
Exactly. Exactly. So I actually agree with you. I don't mind the name Commanders. I also don't care what the name is. Like, I just want to win. And I think we all just want to win. The process was hysterical. The way that the presentation got rolled out was laughably bad. I couldn't believe it. Now the Letterman jackets look dope. I will say that.
Yeah,
I thought those looked pretty cool.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But what did you saw? What Fanatics?
Right.
The tops were all Washington Commander shit, which is we knew that was gonna happen. We're gonna buy the shit,
of course. But like, I don't know. The whole thing was just, I was just laughing. I was just like, this is unbelievably bad. Like, it felt like, remember how they botched the Sean Taylor thing? Like,
it feels like it.
It feels like it. And so I don't know why fans continue to give the front office and people in charge the benefit of the doubt here, because they consistently show you that they don't deserve it. So stop giving it to them. Speaking of, and you'd mentioned Jason Wright. KDot, what years do we as fans know as our 3 Super Bowl years?
Look, I get it. As far, do you actually want me to answer the question?
I want you to answer the question, and then let's get into it. What are the years we know?
All right. Well, let's start at the last one, 91.
Right.
87. Was it 80, 83? 82,
82.
82. Yeah, 82.
They're banners. They're banners.
Yeah, the banners. They're on it. And then you have the ones back in the 30s, right? So it's like, look, here's what I'll say, because that was something that so there's like this every text thread that I was on over the course of the last couple of days.
Yeah.
You're in some text threads without the Washington fans. You're in a lot of text threads where there's no Washington fans, and you're getting shit on a lot, right? So it's like some of the shitting on, I was the one that would post the article or the link, like, hey, this is pathetic. Look at us. Then you'd have the only thing that I'm being completely honest. I have seen them use both days for years now in Washington, and it's always something that's bothered me. Like there's literally been times that they'll come up on a pamphlet, or like you go to the game and they have like the program or whatever, or even when you're watching like, and they will say the championship, and then like they fuck around and say 92, 91 a lot of times. Like, I just want them to pick one. Just pick one. I've seen them stepping on both worlds for a minute now.
Yeah, I mean, everyone remembers how good the 1973 Dolphins were. Like, yeah, they were incredible. Oh, wait, it was 72. That's how it works, Jason. I hated the double down on the idea of like, oh, well, this is the date we won. We won on Jan 31st, 1988. Therefore, it's 88. No, that's not how it works. I'm sorry. I understand the Super Bowl happened that season, but it is, when did the regular season occur? It's always been that way. He even said it on the Team 980. He was like, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the 2021 Super Bowl champions. If that's the case, we don't need to see the Rams and Bengals. We've already got the champion. It's the Bucs. Again, it is a tremendous misunderstanding. No, not misunderstanding. He fucked up. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to be much more clear. That should not have happened. We know how important the dates of 82, 87, and 91 are. People know them. They're banners. It's around FedEx Field. Why the sudden change? We had 2 years. Did we overthink it? Probably. That's the problem with 2 years. The Cleveland Guardians, they came out. They had a couple things about it. People were like, I don't know. We had 2 years. And how are we messing this up so badly? Like, it seems impossible to me. I actually think that's bad. Additionally, I'm sorry. The reaction to the roundtable and stuff like that, and we'll get into the specifics of it, but where he said, we have made deep, irreversible change in terms of becoming the most diverse front office and stuff like that, that was tone deaf. I mean, I understand what he was trying to do. I understand. But to say, hey, it's all gone, and we've had 100% turnover, owner hasn't changed. How on earth can it be 100% turnover? It is now to the point that I think Jason Wright's part of the problem. I've wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I have for a very long time. But now, whenever I see Jason Wright's name, I'm starting to get frustrated. Same thing with Julie Donaldson. It is just, from Dan, the slime hits everybody.
The stank.
It's the stank. It's not necessarily their fault, but there wasn't 100% turnover. That was a lie. Go ahead.
That's the point, is that the stank. Like, I know people in that organization right now, people that I respect, people that I like a lot. You stay there long enough, the stank is on you. And I think the hope was that in a short amount of time, they would change enough stuff that it would change that vibe about them. but we can still see that either, look, I don't want to say that people in the front office are being incompetent, because like, even though I understand what you're saying as far as the date thing, and I've seen it both ways, and I always thought it was because we didn't want to be associated with the strike seasons, which is why I thought it was like around a couple times. But look, we know what you're supposed to do, especially if it's going to be a fucking Crest, and no one else is referring to us as the fucking 92 Rats. Like, come the fuck on. Like, we get it, right? And the fact that like it will go through that many eyes and hands, and nobody says like, no, we're not going to do that, makes you feel like it was a decision made from up top. And when the decision is made from up top, nobody else's opinion really matters past that point. And that's the vibe that you get. When the Sean Taylor thing was happening and you just see, hey, this is what we're going to do, it feels as though somebody from up top said, this is what's going to happen. And then it's everybody scrambling to make it happen, and they're not able to look through all the details the way that they need to, which is why you have Sean Taylor's family doing photo shoots in front of porta potties, right? Like, you can see that regardless of whatever, it started from up top. If Jason Wright is just less competent than I thought he was, which I don't want to believe that, but if that's the case, that's still on Dan. Why? He hired him. So like, at the end of the day, whatever's coming out of the front office still starts with what's up top. And it's bullshit that we still have to deal with this stuff. But look, because we're fucking like battered fucking people in a terrible domestic violent relationship, we can't walk away. And it's just dumb. And we're all kind of villains and victims at the same time. Because I mean, there are people that we want to root for, right? When we see the players on the field, we want to root for them because they're putting their lives on the line, putting their bodies on the line for that goal for our city. We see the coaching staff, Ron Rivera. I like Ron Rivera. I like Ron Rivera a lot. I've liked a lot of the coaches that have come through Washington because I know they're trying their damnedest. They're working these long hours to try to put a winning product on the field. The front office people that I know are working tirelessly sometimes to make shit happen. It doesn't matter as long as the dude that's up top still has king say over everything, or is picking people that don't need it. We're never really going to change the way we need to.
Why don't we go ahead and jump into it then? So the roundtable occurred.
Oh, one more thing.
Go ahead.
The uniforms.
Go ahead.
What the fuck is that away uniform?
Yeah. Oh God, the white. Yeah.
What is that? And like, apologies to Jim Zorn, maroon and black. You were right, sir. Like, what the fuck was that? What is that? Like, it doesn't look like anything else that's happening when it comes to like, it just, somebody just, I like this. I'm just going to do it. It had not, the red's not the same shade. There's no gold on it. What the fuck is that? I don't understand what it is. I just don't get it.
I don't get it either. I would say that I've seen a number of fan edits of it that look a hell of a lot better. Which means, guess what? There probably wasn't fan input like we said there would be. Okay, so at a certain point, when we talk about Jason Wright, Julie Donaldson, whomever, yes, they're more diverse. That's fantastic. And early on, you get the benefit of the doubt. But at the end of the day, you fucking co-sign to be a part of this. And if that's the case, and you're now defending what's going on, there's a problem. I'm sorry. I do think once you're in it for long enough, there is some on you. You know, yes, and we're going to point to Dan a whole lot, and we should, and we will. But we're starting to get to the point where Jason, Julie, etc. Look at yourselves. You've been here long enough. You got to do something. Let's move to the roundtable. That was hard. That was hard to hear. It's one thing to read it in a Washington Post article and be like, these quotes are damn, right? I watched it. I watched the whole thing. And to hear each of them go through, and it became a very emotional thing. You're just like, damn. Like, it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to hear the stories of Melanie Coburn's, of Tiffany Johnston, who I don't think people knew she was going to be up there. She seemed like a last minute ad, and a huge ad. We'll talk about her in a moment. Rachel Engelson, Emily Applegate, Anna Nunez, Brad Baker. I mean, it was eye-opening to hear the words instead of read the words. It's similar to the Ray Rice thing. You heard about it. It was swept under the rug. The video comes out. My God, something must be done. There's got to be change. I mean, I can't see any other way now that Snyder's directly implicated. And what I'm referring to there is Tiffany Johnston, who was a former marketing manager and cheerleader with the team. She had a couple other roles as well. Cited a dinner that occurred with Dan and a whole bunch of the team, where he put his hand on her thigh under the table, and she had to move it back to his side, to his body, and proceed to have a casual conversation with another coworker as if nothing happened. That's awkward. That's not a thing that happened or should happen, to be clear. The leader of men, with great power comes great responsibility, is doing this to his own employees. Then her words, these are all her words, but I believe her. She gets aggressively pushed towards the limo saying, hey, come with me, before Dan's attorney goes, Dan, this is a bad idea. This is a very, very bad idea. That is damning. And she had someone corroborate her. Jason Friedman, who is a former VP on the team, said, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I'm really glad she was able to get away. KDot, this is new stuff. There was a whole lot of stuff that was rehashed in the Washington Post articles, stuff like that. But at some point, the damn surely got a break, right? Like, what were your thoughts on some of the quotes and some of just them talking, man? It was hard.
I think that particular testimony, as far as the hand on the thigh and then moving into the limo, was the thing that I think has Dan Snyder backpedaling right now, or trying to figure out where the fuck it is his defensive stance is. Because I think what they've done a really good job of from a cover-up standpoint is making sure that everybody that had something to do with it below him is gone out of the organization. Now, whether or not it was actually for reasons of this compared to a pissing contest between him and Bruce Allen is a whole other thing, right? And then it just ends up being one of those things where after he outs everybody, sees what's happening with the minority ownership group and gets paranoid enough that he gets rid of everybody to then have big power move to take 100% ownership. And just so happens that these guys were involved in the sexual harassment, blah, 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 right? This is a full-blown cover-up. This is a full-blown, the league is implicated. You have Roger Goodell and Dan Snyder trying to help each other navigate through this. Because just like the Ray Rice situation you brought up earlier, remember, Ray Rice got punished, then the video got released, and it was like, whoa, we got to increase the punishment. Even though the facts of the situation didn't change. None of the facts changed, right? It's just what it is that the public could see and what it is the public could swallow, and what it is the league wants to do to show that they're doing something about X thing, right? But the league has already shown it. They fined him $10 million. And they said, all right, Dan, how about your hands off for 6 months and then walk away? But then in that same token, there months ago, you see TMZ was with Jason Wright. You see Dan Snyder right there. They're looking at what it is they're doing with the stadium. You have Ron Rivera last week talking about he met with the owners, plural, to talk about what happened at the end of the year. Sounds like he's involved. Dan Snyder was there for the Commanders unveiling, right? Not to mention the person that's supposed to be taking over for him is Tanya Snyder. Now, look, Tanya Snyder, all the philanthropy that she does in the city, and she's the face of what she's done as far as breast cancer awareness, even the Aware Catch stuff for the NFL is all her idea, if I'm not mistaken, or at least she was responsible for a good portion of it.
She's her own person. Yeah.
She's her own person. Very hard. She's as fucking hot. She's the wife. Come on, dog. Like what they sit around the dinner table together. You don't think the team gets brought up?
Yeah.
Come the fuck on. Like, it's bullshit. Then you have the league know, hey, we're gonna do something different than we ever have done before. You know, when the investigator and Beth Wilkinson does her thing, we're gonna have our people investigate our own people and keep it all in house. How about instead of giving us a written testimony, you give us an oral testimony just because there's no record of it? Come the fuck on, people. You can see little blips of this kind of program with the Bruce out with the John Gruden email scandal. There is almost like a Cold War brewing right now. And it's a Cold War for sides that don't like each other between Dan, Roger Goodell, the league, but also knowing that they are engaged in basically criminal activity together.
Yep.
And they can't afford to see the other one fall because then the entire house of cards goes crashing down. Which is why I loved the first time you're ever going to hear me say, with what's also happening at the same time with the Brian Flores thing, when you see Jerry Jones actually step outside of the league and say something about that shit, makes you know these motherfuckers ain't on the same page.
Oh, they're not.
And I'm hoping that more and more of this shit happens and it comes crashing.
The one thing, and I really, really am thrilled that you brought it up. And people need to be aware of this because you're seeing hashtag release the report. There's no report. That's the craziest thing. Their findings delivered orally. It was basically just delivered orally sounds fucking hilarious. I'm sorry. But it really is just Beth Wilkinson was talking to them. Hey, what'd you find? That was it. I mean, she probably has her own notes. She probably has, there are emails associated with and stuff like that. Go ahead, KDot. What do you want to say?
There was the Washington, after Goodell said he wanted an oral report, there is where the Washington did request a written report
from her law firm.
From her law firm.
Yes.
Does that exist?
It's a good question.
And I think that's the thing that we're looking at is that Dan, I think, because of how paranoid he is and always wanting dirt on other people, was worried about Bruce Allen and wanted what he needed to have on Bruce.
Exactly.
He has the smoking gun for himself in attempts to try to destroy Bruce. And that's the short-sightedness of it all.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why he wanted the report. It wasn't so that there could be physical evidence of it. It was much more, let me read it, let me shred it, and I know exactly what I need. I'll save what I need to save. This is how it works. And let's remember, all these Washington Post articles came out, and Dan also has had settlements in the past where he has had sexual harassment stuff allegedly happened, and he settled. So either it wasn't worth the trouble or he did it, or both. But his ownership stake increased during this time, right? Now he's the full owner, and the minority owners that were there are now disgruntled and without a stake in the team. And the owners had to approve that, by the way. So the owners are very much involved in what's going on. You look at the common interest agreement that just dropped with the Washington Post and I think CBS 9 and what is the committee? The Committee on Oversight and Reform coming out with what they said. That is news too. So now apparently Dan Snyder needs to give his approval for that stuff to, how does this not scream cover up? How does this not scream to you? This is so bad. It has to be so bad for the NFL to have been like, yeah, we need to do this. We need to do this too. And this all happened after the findings. This was 2 months later. They were like, by the way, let's begin doing
and
these
retroactive
things.
it
And retroactive and make it retroactive. Exactly. It's you.
But I think that's the thing. We're seeing all these things come to a head, right? The Brian Flores situation, even though I don't think he's going to win that lawsuit at all, is my own thoughts of that. But the aspect of that coming at the same time that we're seeing all of this, what the league is basically kind of come down to, and what every reporter needs to be asking Roger Goodell, Jeff Passan, everybody over the course of this entire thing, is after hearing the testimony that was laid out in Congress.
Yeah.
Is $10 million enough and in full ownership of his team? You need to ask them point blank, if you think that the lessons have been learned and that nothing's going to change, do you think $10 million to a billionaire, and now he has even more control over his team, which watches over that $10 million, is it enough? Is that enough to say that somebody's changed or that they've learned their fucking lesson? And that's what needs to get help. That they need to have their feet held to the fire on this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, is that, like, no, he's the one that put the people in position. He can apologize all he wants to, off and whatever. Even before the testimony that happened this week, you're the guy that handpicked the guys. It wasn't something that was happening for a few months. It happened for years, and you were unaware. Get the fuck out. You have to. Where's your punishment for allowing it to happen?
I forgot to mention that I think in his statement in response to some of the Washington Post stuff, he said he actually needed to be more involved. Remember, he was like, I'm actually unaware of all this. I actually need to be more involved. And according to Brad Baker, who did some of the video editing and stuff like that, he was in charge of making the good bits, right? Which is, those nip slips and stuff like that, those suggestive photos from the photo shoots that he would then distribute to people. And that was under Dan Snyder. And Larry Michael was more than happy to be a part of it. And before any Washington Post article dropped, Larry Michael resigns. I mean, so this place stinks. Okay. To high heavens, this place stinks. And at this point, it's just comical because we all know something terrible has happened beyond just this. Like whatever Beth found, I would love for her to just make a Twitter if she doesn't have one and just tweet it and then just deactivate and just move on. Because that would be more or less what we're hoping for, what we need is for Beth Wilkinson to speak at this point. I can't think of any other way. The NFL has done so much. Oh, and Goodell with the reason we're not releasing the findings. Now he's smart, right? There's no written report. The findings is because we want to protect the interests of those that were interviewed and the employees that were hurt. They don't want it out. And all of them are like, yeah, we want it out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's comical. It is very, very funny.
You're seeing all this shit. And like, I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but you're seeing the shit kind of play out this way.
How could it not be at this
NFL
point?
Network's barely carrying this story.
Yep.
Barely. They'll talk about the Commander's name change, but they're not talking about this shit. The same way that they're barely talking about the Brian Flores shit situation. And so also try to look up information as far as things that are people talking about this or shows. You know, ESPN like to put clips of every show on YouTube. Yeah. Try to find so many clips of them talking about this situation. There's one 6-minute thing they have Mina Kimes and everything on it to do it. I'm just saying it's
fascinating. It's fascinating. If you look at Good Morning Football, for example, so I watch them every day, just skim through stuff like that. And I was so interested to see, I was like, well, they're run by the NFL. What will they do? They had Mike Garafolo say, hey, this is what's happening. But Kyle Brandt didn't get to say what he thought. Kay Adams didn't get to say what she thought. And Peter Schrager did not get to say what he thought. They just moved on. They're like, the lead block, the Super Bowl. There is no way, I'm sorry. Ultimately, football is just a game. There is no way that's the lead block at this point in the season.
Here's what you're going to see. You're going to see that the league is probably going to pivot to, because of this agreement that just got released. Oh, it's on Dan.
That's the point.
It's on Dan. Dan's got to figure out whether or not he's going to release it. You know, we signed these agreements to try to protect everybody involved. We're just doing what's right based on the legal framework. It's out of our hands, and Dan needs to be able to do what he needs to do there. Yeah. And you're going to see that. And then here's the thing. The league pushes too hard on that. Guess what Dan's going to do? Firing salvo, baby. This is getting interesting. But the only way in order for we to actually get anywhere is we all have to be talking about this shit. We all have to be talking about this. We all have to make sure in anything that we're doing when talking about this team that we're bringing up these particular topics. This is the closest that we are going to get to actual change happening in this organization, say from an act of God, okay? This is what's happening. He's got more control over the team after the allegations, after everything that's fucking happened. This is ridiculous. He got rewarded, basically, for the shit that's happened, right? We have to make sure that in every which way that we turn, he cannot run away from this. He can't be able to run away from this.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is the NFL, as crazy dumb as they look at times, are smart when it comes to this. Fans get tired, fans move on, and that's what they're waiting for. They're just delaying until people forget. So it is important to stay on them. I'm glad Debbie Wasserman Schultz spoke up and said, we are staying on this during the roundtable. That was huge. There are other people that were also like, yeah, we are absolutely staying on this. And the Republicans, my God, it was fascinating to watch all the distraction politics. They're like, hey, we know this is important, but what about the border? What about inflation under the Biden administration? These, without saying they're more important, they're like, hey, sorry for what happened. And I'm sorry that you are a walking corpse at times because of your experiences. But what about these things?
No, fuckers, you got tax exempt status because of Congress, basically.
And that's why it belongs in the Committee on Oversight and Reform. There is precedent for this. MLB with steroid use. Heck, the BCS at the time, they couldn't call it the national championship after a while, unless there was a playoff. Like, they have gotten involved in sports before. Deal with it. That's the way it is. There's precedent for this. And there have been many, many reports by the NFL. Ray Rice, Deflategate had 243 pages, and the Carolina Panthers, okay, in a kind of similar situation, except I think ours is much, much worse. And again, there were just camp stories by fire. Beth Wilkinson to Roger Goodell and some owners. And they said, thanks for the stories. Get the fuck out, and let's forget this ever happened. So stay on them. Keep Twitter flowing. Keep Instagram flowing.
Hashtag release the report or release the findings. So this is fucking change it. Whatever. We're about to get in the media week for the fucking Super Bowl. We're getting a media week for the fucking Super Bowl. What they're hoping, because we have a weekend in between, is that this story dies by Monday. The Brian Flores stuff, other things are going to take precedent over this. The combination of these things, all this stuff happening right now, provides an opportunity for reporters to hold these fuckers accountable for shit. They have to let themselves be available to the media and start fucking asking the players. I don't give a shit. Like, at this point, start just getting the conversation going. We have to keep it up all the way up until fucking kickoff of the Super Bowl. This should be the number one, and after, but that should be the number one thing that everybody's fucking bringing up, because this is ridiculous.
Yep. There should be a lot of pressure on the NFL right now. And if they're not feeling it, we as fans are not doing enough, because we need to keep cranking it up until media members see this is what people are interested in. So we have to ask about it. And then it's going to be a long summer. Let's see if Jeff Bezos does his thing with the Washington Post and has more articles. Who knows? But like KDot said, there is no better time than right now. Everyone's looking at the NFL. It's Super Bowl week coming up. This is the time to do it. More than any. This is the time to do it.
And if you ever worked for the Washington football team and you did not sign a non-disclosure agreement, we want to hear your fucking stories.
Love to.
I want to hear about everything that went on in Ashburn. All the stories that you know that you've told to other people when you're drinking, maybe, or the ones that you've been holding on to because something bad did happen. We want to hear them. And other guys that have been through this organization that have probably seen the shit that's happened and then just try to get the fuck away. Some of the guys that I actually respect. Brian LaFamina, I want to hear from you. Scott McClellan, I want to fucking hear from you.
Yep.
All these dudes that stopped here for a drink of water and then went on to go somewhere else, we need to hear from you. We need full court press on this particular subject until change actually happens.
This is real life House of Cards, honestly. Like, it's that bad. It really is. And so, yeah, we need to hear from all of you. Absolutely. By the way, Krishnamurthy at the very end, Raja Krishnamurthy, who's the head of the committee, actually had the document with the NFL's recommendations from the Jerry Richardson stuff with Carolina. And the very first one is, we recommend against having non-disclosure agreements signed in cases of sexual harassment and stuff like that. So that happened before all this Washington stuff came. So the NFL's had that, and they intentionally chose, no, make them sign it. Make them sign it. So any final thoughts, KDot? I think we've both exhausted the subject quite a bit, but there's a lot that still needs to be done here.
No, I think that we need, as fans, to kind of come to terms with where it is that we need to be. We do not have a moral high ground supporting this team and giving them money and making sure that the jerseys and everything. And trust me, I almost bought one. I know it feels like a sickness at this point. I don't have the willpower, but I'm trying. And that's the thing, is like in the same token, while I'm trying to support the players on the field and I'm trying to support the coaching staff and the other guys that are working their ass off to make this thing happen, I know that with everything that I do along those lines, I'm lining the pockets of the owners that don't deserve it.
Yeah.
We have to figure, if we're going to do that, then we need to be loud about this shit. We need to be loud about making sure that they know that we're supporting the players and the coaches, but not the asshole up top, and that we want him gone. We need him gone. And I don't know how you resolve both of those issues internally, other than just saying, I feel as though I'm a villain. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm embracing that villain role to some degree in order to support this team, but we got to figure that out.
This shit has hit Congress. I mean, that's how serious this is. And my final thought here is, a bunch of the owners, not all of them, but a bunch of them are complicit in this, because a lot of this stuff requires 3/4 of a vote, or I'm sorry, 3/4 majority to have a vote go through. And I'm pretty sure 24 of 32 owners, that was hit easily. I'm willing to bet quite easily for Dan to become 100% owner of this team. So there are a lot of bad ones out there. It's an old boys club. You look, it's not diverse, is what it is. So hopefully change is coming. Keep putting pressure, and hopefully we hear the stories of others that were there and we get some resolution here. But that's going to conclude today's episode of District Divided, a DC sports podcast. We're officially the Washington Commanders. Next week, we are going to be coming out with the Washington football team offseason series, beginning with how do you build an NFL franchise, our general philosophy and ideas around that. And then we're going to get into the specifics, the owner, Dan Snyder, for hopefully not too long, but that's the current situation. And we'll get into the front office and, Marty Herney, Martin Mayhew, and we go through it all. We're very excited to bring it to you guys, and we'll bring it starting next week. All right. So have a great weekend, and we will see you next week for that. Take it easy.